Coming up, flooding concerns continue in some areas of Cass County, the latest on the trouble spots. An alleged assault happening outside the doors of a popular big box store in Fargo. And assessing the impact of the recent winter storms on North Dakota's oil industry. Hello and welcome to the Nightly Review. I'm Tom Tucker. We begin with a look at tonight's headlines. Then, in a closer look, how the FBI is warning of possible cyber attacks targeting farmers' cooperatives. And in tonight's one-on-one conversation, my guest is Minnesota Republican gubernatorial candidate Mike Murphy, who's taking shots at his Republican challengers when it comes to their campaign financing. He also has stinging criticism for Governor Walz when it comes to crime in the state. But first tonight, some people in Cass County are bracing for possible flooding as the Maple River and the Cheyenne River crest. Cass County engineer Jason Benson says people living along the Cheyenne between Kindred and Harwood could see some of the worst flooding, with new crest predictions at around 90 feet. The good news is that's slightly lower than the 91.4 feet originally predicted. Residents north of West Fargo near the Maple River will also see high water levels. Sections of several roads in those areas could close over the next 24 hours. One person was hospitalized, another arrested after an alleged assault Friday night in Fargo. Police say it happened around 8 o'clock at the bus stop outside the Walmart on 13th Avenue South, then continued near the entrance of the business. There's no word yet on an ID of the suspect and no information yet on possible charges. One man is in custody after reportedly following a woman into her apartment in Grand Forks. Police say it happened around 11 o'clock Sunday morning. We're told Gerard Jashawn Adams went into the woman's apartment near the 2600 block of 13th Avenue South, then assaulted her before leaving. He was later tracked down and arrested. Adams faces several charges, including kidnapping and terrorizing. A familiar face has been endorsed by Minnesota Democrats in District 4 in the race for state senate. KVRR Chief Meteorologist Rob Kupek received the DFL endorsement at their district convention Saturday. We're told Kupek has lived in Moorhead for more than 20 years. After winning endorsement, it was announced Kupek would no longer appear on air at KVRR. Republicans in the district have not yet endorsed their candidate. A local couple is hinting at legal action in opposition to plans for a soybean crushing plant west of Castleton. A lawyer for Greg and Susan Kemple says they're concerned about the plant's location, its potential impact on property values, and the likelihood of increased traffic, noise, light, and dust. Castleton City Council members are set to vote on a permit for the project tonight. Well, after 4 years at the helm, Clay County Sheriff Mark Empting says he intends to run for re-election this coming November.
It's an absolute honor to serve this Clay County community as sheriff. We have an excellent community. They're very supportive of law enforcement, and I want to continue in this role and keep working hard to keep our community safe.
Sheriff Empting says he's focused heavily on getting drugs off the streets during his tenure. Over the past month, his deputies have been involved in at least 3 drug busts in which suspected fentanyl pills have been recovered. The general election is set for November 8th. A man accused of pointing a toy gun at a Bismarck police officer made his first court appearance. Joseph Williams is charged with terrorizing and physical obstruction of a government function for allegedly pointing the toy weapon at the officer while playing outside with his children. Bond for Williams is set at $750. State officials are assessing the impact of last month's blizzards on North Dakota's oil industry. We're told production fell from an average of 1.1 million barrels per day to 750,000 barrels following the 3-day storm that began April 12th. The shortfall reportedly was much steeper following the April 23rd storm. Currently, production is running at about 700,000 barrels per day. Well, if you're a hunter, you are reminded of the deadline to submit an application for a bear hunting license. The deadline is this coming Friday, May 6th. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources says applications are available to complete and submit online using the DNR website. The applicants enter into a lottery from which the winners will be notified by June 1st. In sports news tonight, it didn't take long for NDSU to see one of their top players chosen in the NFL draft. Friday night, with the second pick in round 2, the Green Bay Packers selected Bison wide receiver Christian Watson. That was the 34th pick overall. The Minnesota Vikings were originally in that spot, but traded out to their division rival. Watson joins Cordell Volson as the two Bison who were drafted this weekend. Volson went in the fourth round to the defending AFC champs, the Cincinnati Bengals. Time now for a closer look. As farmers enter the planting season across the United States, the FBI is warning food and agricultural cooperatives that ransomware attacks may be more likely to happen during this critical time.
Back in March, there was a multi-state grain company that suffered a ransomware attack. In February, we had feed mills that were attacked. And last fall, even during harvest, we had a very large 6-grain cooperative that had ransomware attacks. And by 6 grain, I mean 6 multi-locations. So there's a variety of things that are being used, and the FBI is just warning that that's going to be a continued target as you look at world security in cyberspace.
According to the FBI, cyber attacks during planting or harvesting seasons can disrupt operations, and that could later result in financial loss and negative impacts on the country's food supply. Flag Family Media Ag Director Bridget Riedel tells WDAY's Bonnie and Friends those behind the attacks, which have already occurred, are not amateurs.
Some of these ransomware variants are things like Black Matter, Sunscript, Blackbite. Those are all pretty high level at ransomware attacks. They're not just something local where it's the kid in the basement, so to speak. So this is really becoming a bigger issue. Business management software company last July who focuses in agribusiness, their threat was $30 million in ransom.
The FBI recommends that farmer co-ops and others in the farming industry take a number of precautions to mitigate threats and to enhance protection in the event of a cyber attack. Steps include only using secure networks, regularly backing up data, and using multi-factor authentication whenever possible. Well, right now, I just want to say thanks to you for watching the Nightly Review. If you find it's a good source for getting your news and information for the FM, Metro, and beyond, please be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button below to make sure you don't miss an episode. Well, time now to get the latest look at our weather. Maybe the snow is finally over for the season. Meteorologist Justin Storm is in the Skywatch Weather Center with the forecast.
Thanks, Tom. Will remain mostly cloudy as we head through the overnight hours, and temperatures will hold near freezing at 32 degrees. Wind light tonight out of the north around 5 to 10 miles per hour, and we'll hang on to light winds on your Tuesday, partly cloudy through the afternoon with a high in the lower 50s, and we'll continue the warming trend through the rest of the week. Upper 50s on Wednesday with partly sunny skies, and light winds will continue all the way to Friday where temperatures warm into the 60s.
It could happen to you or someone you love. One moment, one diagnosis can change everything. Thankfully, there's a program that helps caring people uplift families through a crisis. Lend a Hand Up, raising financial help and hope through community benefits and online campaigns. A program that boosts generosity so gifts go further. Lend a Hand Up helps you help your neighbors. Learn more and give at lendahandup.org.
Welcome back to the Nightly Review. In tonight's one-on-one conversation, my guest is Republican Minnesota gubernatorial candidate Mike Murphy, who's also the mayor of Lexington. Murphy is one of a handful of candidates looking to run against incumbent Democrat Tim Walz. Murphy made headlines last year when he and fellow members on the city council voted to make Lexington the first health freedom sanctuary city. I first asked Murphy about what differentiates him from the other Republican challengers, all of whom are far ahead of him when it comes to campaign contributions.
People are really looking for somebody who's not beholden to special interest groups, lobbyists, power brokers, millionaires, and billionaires like all of my competition is. Every one of the candidates I'm up against has taken money from those organizations, those types of people. I've refused it because I can't be controlled. I'm not going to owe any favors to anybody. This election's about the people. It's time that we get back to we the people. We include the voting base in our politics again, right? I mean, you elect us to go to these offices, but then when these representatives get to these positions, they don't hear the people anymore because they got what they needed from them. I'm done with politicians. I'm done with self-serving individuals. And actually, the latest straw polls and polling that came out actually has me above Jensen. So he's actually failing. His campaign is falling apart on him right now.
As you know, the state budget surplus is now massive at more than $9.2 billion. Governor Walz is proposing giving rebate checks of $500 to all single Minnesotans 18 and over and $1,000 to married couples. What are your thoughts on what to do with those surplus funds?
It might not even be that full amount of money, but here's what Tim Walz is doing. He's trying to give a rebate back to every Minnesotan, including those that never paid into our income tax system. We can't do that. We can't be just giving out other people's money that paid into the tax base and then refund it to individuals who are not participating in our economy. If we are going to give refunds back, it has to be back to the people who actually paid those taxes. And more importantly, my proposal would include a refund that is tax-free, because right now, Walz gives out that $1,000 check. You're going to have to pay taxes on that $1,000 again. So you're getting taxed on the tax money that you were taxed on, if that makes any sense to you. But it's kind of nonsense. But we have to have long-term tax cuts from the state. We're not competitive with businesses anymore, for our businesses anymore. We're losing business, to North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Because Minnesota has a very, very high tax burden. We're overall fifth in the entire nation. Our business taxes are entirely too high. Our regulations, our burdens that we put on our business owners, our farmers, that stuff has to change. So we're going to have to get rid of the Social Security tax. For some reason, Minnesota still taxes our seniors on Social Security. And the estate tax has to go too here in the state of Minnesota. So we need to give that money back to the people. I've proposed around $4,000 to $6,000 per individual taxpayer, tax-free. And then we're going to use the rest of that money, including the federal funds, to do the long-term tax cuts throughout the state of Minnesota.
You and other Republican candidates for governor often criticize Governor Walz when it comes to crime, and the numbers certainly support that criticism, with crime rates now hitting record-breaking numbers. Walz says focusing on the crime issue is easy, but says no one is proposing solutions. Thoughts on that?
Well, there are solutions out there. The first solution would have been never to let our cities burn in 2020, and send out the National Guard and actually go on TV and say, law enforcement will come arrest you. We will prosecute you. He was never firm in his standing with that. He allowed Minneapolis and St. Paul to burn for nearly a week before he did anything. And that's because he got a lot of pressure from people on the outside pushing him. And he's never once supported law enforcement publicly until kind of now, because he's running for reelection and he has to, re-image himself or rebrand the Walz campaign. But look, we do need more police officers. That's a fact. And we need good police officers. But it's not just boosting law enforcement numbers. It's also reforming the way that these Democrat cities like Minneapolis and St. Paul handle their law enforcement. And we have to have policies that actually work for the community, and judges and prosecutors actually need to prosecute crime, which they're not doing in the state of Minnesota for the most part. We have organizations such as the Minnesota Freedom Fund that continue to use cash bail from their donor base to bail out violent criminals, and then they don't show up for their trial or proceedings. Our judicial system's a complete mess right now, Tom. More importantly, if Tim Walz went on TV, said, I support law enforcement, I support police, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to bring community policing back into the state of Minnesota, change the narrative that's been built, and actually apologize for what he allowed to happen, he might have a shot, but he doesn't.
I'd like to thank Lexington Mayor and Republican gubernatorial candidate Mike Murphy for joining me for tonight's one-on-one. The Minnesota State Republican Party convention is set for May 13th and 14th in Rochester. A poll by KSTP TV in Minneapolis in February shows Governor Walz leading all Republican challengers, but his lead is significantly smaller than it was in December. Governor Walz has agreed to join me for the one-on-one conversation this coming Thursday. Well, that will do it for this Monday night, May 2nd, 2022. I'm Tom Tucker. Thanks for watching the Nightly Review.